600 abandoned house. The shocking discovery that changed this father's life forever. The air was electric with mystery. Rusty hinges creaked like haunted whispers as Jack pushed open the door to the forgotten house, a relic hidden amidst twisting weeds and thorny vines. It stood as a forgotten monument of decay, yet it was purchased for a mere 600. Its cracked windows glared like watchful eyes, holding secrets from a bygone era. A chill skittered up his spine. What would he uncover behind those faded walls? Inside, dust motes danced in shafts of weak sunlight, creating an eerie spotlight on the shattered remnants of family life. Old photographs hung askew, their faces faded smiles frozen in time, yet somehow burdened with sadness. Jack's heart raced as he imagined the laughter that once filled the empty rooms, now only echoing with the sounds of his own footsteps. He pushed deeper, compelled by an irresistible pull, like the house itself beckoning him forward, guiding him toward an unimaginable truth. The strange creaking of the floorboards beneath him matched the pounding of his heart. Suddenly, a chill swept through the air. Was it just an old house's tricks, or something much darker? Jack paused, squinting into a dim corner. Shadows seemed to thicken there, almost alive. His breath caught in his throat like a lump, drowning him in an unsettling sense of dread. A half-closed door at the end of the hallway barely hung on its hinges. A musty smell wafted out, pungent and oddly inviting. What lay behind it? Was it just more dust or something sinister, waiting to be uncovered? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door creaked open, revealing a room cloaked in shadows, dust, and something else. Was it despair? A large, tattered tapestry draped across the far wall depicted a family, their eyes seeming to follow Jack as he crossed the threshold. He felt a prickling sensation at the nape of his neck. Had they witnessed the house's decay too? A soft clink caught his ear, pulling his focus toward a dusty chest, half buried in debris. What was inside? His hands trembled from an electric mix of excitement and terror. With a deep breath, he knelt down, feeling a lump in his throat as if the weight of the house's history pressed down on him. Just as he reached for the latch, the air turned dense, a murmur brushing past his ears like the rustle of leaves. Maybe it whispered warnings, or perhaps it stirred secrets longing to resurface. What was waiting for him in that chest? Would it change everything? As the chest creaked open, time itself seemed to halt. He paused, heart racing, breath held. What would he find? What would it mean for him? The darkness inside hid truth, and Jack knew he was on the brink of something life-changing. Jack's heart thundered in his chest as he lifted the tarnished lid. No turning back now. The wooden chest groaned, reluctantly yielding to his touch, the musty smell spilling out like a breath held too long. His eyes squinted into the shadows within, a world of dust and forgotten dreams swirling before him that he reached inside, fingers trembling as they grazed something cool and solid, a small, leather-bound book. A wave of emotion crashed over him. It felt heavy, imbued with the stories of lives lived and lost, secrets buried deep within its pages. He pulled it out, the weight of it anchoring him to the moment. There were no words printed on the cover, only a delicate design etched indiscernibly, almost like a family crest. As he flipped the book open, a flurry of loose papers fell from between the pages, scattering across the floor like fallen leaves. Letters, photos, documents, they all whispered secrets of the past. His breath caught again as he read a name, one that sent shivers spiraling down his spine. Martha Winslow. There was a photograph nestled among the debris. It showed a woman with kind eyes, her smile radiant yet sad, holding a baby in her arms. Jack's pulse quickened. This wasn't just an old relic. It was a connection, a glimpse into a world he had no idea existed. Who was Martha? Why did she feel so familiar? He felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. Suddenly, out of nowhere, A loud crash reverberated through the house. Jack snapped his head up, a jolt of terror gripping him. Was someone else here? His instincts surged, pushing all rationality aside. "Hello?" he called out, voice unsteady. The house remained silent. Just him and the shadows creeping around him, suffocating in their presence. Jack's hands shook as he shoved the book into his backpack, clutching it like a lifeline. He needed to get out of here, his gut twisted with dread. Whatever history lurked in this house was clawing to be unearthed, and he may have stumbled into a pit far deeper than he wanted. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to be here. Perhaps this was fate, a chance to understand a piece of his own story tied strangely to Martha's. Gritting his teeth, he ventured back toward the door, staying alert, heart racing, mind racing faster. Jack's foot brushed against something metallic on the floor. He bent down, heart pounding. There, half buried in dust, was an old key. Its surface was battered and tarnished, yet it glimmered with potential. Anxiety tangled with excitement in his chest. What could it open? The house was ominous, but the thought of another door, another secret, pulled him back. A sudden steel resolve gripped him. He wasn't done, yet not until he uncovered the next layer of this mystery. He cautiously retraced his steps, each creak of the floorboard echoing ominously in the air. As he approached the shadowy hallway again, anticipation washed over him like cold water. Would this key unlock the past? Was it the key to another room, or something more significant? With a racing heart, he glanced down the dark corridor, the half-closed door at its end beckoning him. What lay behind it? The weight of his discovery hung heavy in his backpack as he gripped the key tighter. Time seemed to compress as he stepped into the dark again. The answers were so close now. And with that, the door creaked open just a fraction more, revealing a sliver of light that hinted at hidden treasures or unspeakable horrors waiting to be set free. What would he find in the house that had already begun to change his life so drastically? The door creaked open wider, and a sliver of light poured through the gap, illuminating dust motes that danced in the stagnant air. Jack hesitated, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. This was at the moment of truth. He tried to catch his breath, but it was caught in the vice of anticipation. As he slipped through the threshold, the light revealed a room that looked untouched by time. Cobwebs hung like ghostly veils from the ceiling, and the walls, once vibrant, were now mottled with age. In the center stood a small table, its surface cluttered with various items. A faded diary lay open, pages turned to yellowed corners, as if begging to be read. The atmosphere thickened as Jack drew closer. The musty smell transitioned to an earthy scent, like rain on dry soil. He felt another jolt, an almost electric charge, as he stepped closer to the diary. Fingers itching to explore, he caught snippets of handwriting, curvy and elegant, but dark smudges marred some of the words. "Martha," he whispered, instinctively knowing this was her writing. A warm breeze brushed against his skin, or was it just a trick of his mind? In the far corner, an old portrait caught the faint light, revealing the same kind eyes from the photo. But this figure was older, her hands fragile, and sorrow lingered in her expression. It was eerie and beautiful, and Jack felt a strange pull toward her. But then, another crash resounded, louder this time, shaking the walls. Panic surged inside him. Was someone really here? His instincts screamed at him to flee, but the diary held him captive, like a moth drawn to flame. He reached for it, fingers brushing the brittle pages, and suddenly the door behind him slammed shut. Panic snaked through Jack's veins. His heart raced as he turned, pressing his back against the wall, the soft thud of his pulse drowning out every other sound. "Hello? Is someone there?" His voice trembled, but there was no answer, nothing but shaken silence. The oppressive air thickened, making it hard to breathe. He swung back to the diary, frantically flipping through the pages, desperate to find anything that could explain the chaos unfolding. There it was, an entry dated years ago, words forming a cryptic message: "The past will not stay buried. Secrets, once awakened, have a way of surfacing." A chill raked down his spine. What had he uncovered? The legacy of a woman long gone, perhaps haunted by choices made and paths taken. Was Martha's sorrow entangled with his own past? Glimpses of faces raced through his mind: friends, family, the form of a baby wrapped in her arms from the photograph spinning in his thoughts. But which baby? The connection began to feel almost tangible, a thread binding him to the lives lived in this very room. Just then, a shadow flickered at the corner of his eye. He spun around, heart hurling into his throat. Nothing was there. "Get it together, Jack," he muttered, though his voice trembled under the weight of unseen eyes watching him. In a burst of determination, he turned back to the diary. If there were answers here, he needed to find them, and fast. But an ominous creak sounded through the house, and Jack felt the ground shift beneath him in awareness that the house was alive, aware of his every move. How many secrets were hiding in the shadows? And were they waiting for him to uncover them or to ensnare him further in their web? As he pressed forward, the lightning in his chest ignited again. What lay ahead could change everything he thought he knew about himself or shatter it completely. A loud scraping echoed from another room, and Jack's hands tightened around the diary. The house was not just watching. It was warning, beckoning him deeper into its hidden depths. Would he discover salvation or face a peril that would unravel him entirely? The last of the daylight flickered away, engulfed by the sinister shadow of the long-abandoned house. Jack steadied himself, the diary held tightly against his chest as if it were a lifeline. The scraping noise grew louder, echoing through the silence like a desperate cry for help or a promise of doom. Each creak sent jolts of icy fear coursing through him. "Stay calm," he whispered to himself, though his own quivering voice betrayed him. He had to stop this panic from spiraling. He had come to find answers. With a deep breath, he approached the doorway on his left. The scraping sound morphed into something more distinct, a dragging shuffling, like the sound of something heavy being moved across the floor. Every step felt monumental, as if he were treading on the fragile fabric of time itself. The shadows of the hall reached out, dark tendrils curling toward him. Just as he reached out to touch the splintered doorframe, a gust of wind rushed through the entrance behind him, rattling the old window panes and sending a cascade of dust flying into the air. Jack coughed, shielding his eyes, but it also cleared the air, and he caught a fleeting scent, something floral that made his heart tighten with memory. It was then, through the cloud of dust, that he spotted a wooden rocking chair swaying softly in the dim light of a small room. The chair moved as if cradling an unseen presence, a ghostly echo of laughter ringing in his ear. Jack stumbled back, eyes wide, heart pounding. "Martha," he breathed, the name hanging in the air like a spell. The patter of small feet echoed from within the small chamber, and Jack's heart clenched. A child? He peered closer. The room said it belonged to a little girl. Toys scattered on the floor, and ragged dolls hung from dusty shelves. Their button eyes seemed to stare back at him, judging, waiting. As he stepped over the threshold, the air grew thick with an ancient weight. Jack felt the diary slipping from his grasp, and he caught it just in time. What was happening? The walls felt charged, an unmistakable hum thrumming beneath the surface. "Get out!" A voice echoed down the hall, clear and desperate, a woman's voice tinged with grief and terror. He felt the words clawing at him, urging him to flee. But he couldn't leave now. His foot moved forward almost of its own will. The furniture stood in a hesitant arrangement, as if frozen in time, yet alive with secrets. Jack caught a glimpse of a portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. It was the family he had seen in the photograph, untouched by age, the very same faces staring back at him. And there it was, a glint of silver around the child's wrist, and that painting caught his eye. A bracelet, unmistakably like the one he had seen before, Martha's bracelet. He pressed closer, energy pulsing within him, like he was being summoned. Then, without warning, a loud bang erupted from behind him, shattering the stillness. Jack whirled around, his heart racing. Was someone here in the house with him? The shadows shifted and twisted, seemingly alive, reaching for him with clawing fingers of darkness. Then he heard it, faint, like a distant echo of laughter mingled with cries, a mixture of innocence and despair. "Help me!" He froze, every nerve alight with dread. Was it a memory? Was it the echo of the past calling him to save what he had stumbled upon? He felt that weight of responsibility sink into his chest. There was no turning back. But key questions raced through his mind. What had happened to Martha? What had drowned her world in sorrow? His pulse quickened, every ounce of his being cried out to uncover the truth. All of a sudden, the diary trembled in his hand, pages fluttering wildly as if animated by some unseen force. A single word caught his eye, glowing faintly against the pages: rescue. The scrape resumed, louder now, and he realized it was coming closer. Jack backed away instinctively, heart pounding furiously. Who or what was in the shadows? It felt like the house could swallow him whole. He glanced back at the rocking chair, now still, the air thick with silence as the atmosphere shifted dangerously. When he chose to uncover the darkness, could he escape it without losing something precious in return? With newly ignited determination, he stepped towards the heart of the chaos, the uncertainty of what waited behind the next door. Would it finally shed light on the chilling secrets kept for so long? Jack could feel the weight of his choices looming with every step. What had he awakened in this house? But one thought burned brighter than the rest. He had to know. Jack's mind raced as he stood at the threshold of the room, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The shadows loomed larger, the air stifling, almost electric, as if every molecule vibrated with unshed secrets. He took in the room one last time, the toys lying haphazardly, the crooked portrait, the ceaseless creak of the rocking chair, silent now, but still clinging to unseen whispers. His instinct to flee battled fiercely with an urgency to uncover the truth. He steeled himself, pushing the door wider. The hinge screeched, an alarming protest that made him flinch. Just a little further, he murmured under his breath, forcing himself past the threshold. Then, suddenly, the scraping sound stopped. An eerie calm enveloped him, the silence heavy and suffocating. What was that? He whispered, craning his neck to glance at the corners of the room, where darkness pooled like ink. Jack felt like he was being watched, and a chill crept down his spine. "Help me," came the voice again, a child's voice fuller of fear this time. It cut through the silence like glass shattering. Jack gripped the diary tighter, the word rescue burning in his mind. "What do you need? Who are you?" There was no answer, just the echo of his own voice lingering in the air. Heart racing, Jack stepped deeper into the room, his breath quickening. Then he spotted a small, worn-out doll lying face down among the dust. He recognized it from his childhood, a doll he thought was lost long ago. "Madeline, is that you?" he asked, stunned. Jack bent down instinctively to touch it, and hope flared briefly in his chest. But as his fingers grazed the doll's fabric, a cold breeze blew through the room, and a shadow flickered in the corner of his eye. Fear squeezed at his throat. He turned sharply, eyes wide, but found nothing but the haunting emptiness. The walls seemed to vibrate with a low hum, an ancient rhythm that made his teeth chatter. He could see now that the shadows weren't merely absence. They twisted and curled like ghosts. Jack's feet felt glued, half ready to run and half anchored by an insatiable urge to stay. Then, from the shadows came a soft laugh, a tinkling sound like a crystal bell. The voice was unmistakable, playful, yet tinged with anguish. "I'm right here. Who are you? Help me find my bracelet." The air thickened around him, as if the house itself drew in a breath, holding its secrets tightly. Jack thought fast, adrenaline spiking. "You mean Martha's bracelet?" The laughter stopped, replaced by a sudden chilling silence, and he sensed the anticipation in the air, tinged with something malicious. The lights flickered, and for an instant, Jack saw her, a glimpse of a figure in a brown dress, the edge of long dark hair curled in the shadows. She turned, and the world seemed to freeze. "Martha," he breathed, realizing in that moment that here was more than just the child who had called for help. Her eyes locked onto his, deep pools of sorrow and unspoken pain. "Please, find it, before it's too late." Then, in a blink, she was gone, leaving behind a swirling mist of despair and unease. Jack's chest tightened, and he staggered back, gasping for breath. The shadows seemed to thicken, creeping toward him, as if drawn by the potency of the truth he had stumbled upon. The rocking chair creaked again, a groaning lament that echoed off the walls. Jack's instincts screamed at him to escape, but the raw imminence of urgency bound him where he stood. He had to trust his instincts, find the bracelet, and maybe, just maybe, he could save Martha. But what else lay hidden in this house? What darkness had been waiting for him all along? The diary began to tremble in his grasp once more, letters shifting, the word "find" illuminating the pages as if urging him forward towards an unseen destiny. Jack felt the weight of time closing in. He stepped toward the back of the room, sensing the pull of a mystery waiting to be unraveled. There it stood, the last door, prominent and menacing. With a deep breath, he reached for the handle. What awaited him behind that door would change everything. Jack's heart thrummed wildly as his fingers brushed the cold metal of the doorknob. The door loomed before him, seeming to pulse with its own energy. It felt wrong and right all at once, an invitation that dared him to step through. He turned the knob slowly, as if afraid it might bite. A click echoed through the room, shattering the stillness. With a gentle push, the door creaked open, revealing a darkened passage that seemed to stretch endlessly, swallowed by blackness. Just one more step, he whispered to himself. Pushing through the threshold, the musty air rushed to greet him, wrapping around him like a damp shroud. The floorboards creaked under his weight, protesting his intrusion. A faint glint caught his eye, something embedded in the wall a few paces ahead. He squinted, breath hitching. As he approached, he saw it clearly, a silver bracelet, chain glistening in the dim light, half buried in the rubble of an old shelf. Martha S. The name escaped his lips, a prayer and a plea all at once. He reached down, trembling fingers stretching toward the object of his quest. Just then, a gust of wind swept through the room, slamming the door shut behind him. Jack spun around, panic rising. No. Open. He rattled the knob, but the door didn't budge. He faced the uninviting darkness behind him. Stay calm, he told himself, instinctively clutching the diary against his chest. The stories he'd read were alive in his mind now. Help me, Jack. The voice cut through the air again, sharper this time, like a knife slicing through fog. His heart sank. Find me, where are you? He shouted, his voice quivering. A sound echoed like a distant sob, and with it came a wave of cold. His breath came out in ragged puffs, warm clouds in the frigid air. Jack hastily grasped the bracelet and backed toward where he thought the door was, straining to keep his senses sharp. The darkness thickened, as if it were a living creature that inhaled his fear. As he turned, the space morphed around him. A series of flashes revealed tangled shadows dancing about the walls, each one twisting and writhing. They seemed to whisper, beckoning him closer. The rocking chair began to rock again, creaking mournfully. Memories flooded back, dark and suffocating. Martha. The name hung heavy in the air. He could feel her presence near him. But where? Panic sent a pulse through his veins. With a sudden determination, Jack advanced further into the chamber, mind racing for any clue, anything that would lead him to her. His hand brushed the wall, and he felt it shift beneath his touch. A scrawled message emerged from the dust. Their S&O escape. His chest tightened. This was a warning, or perhaps a dare. The ominous declaration sent chills through his body, and his instincts screamed at him to turn back. But he couldn't. He wouldn't leave Martha behind. As he scanned the room, something glinted at his feet in the corner, the edge of a locket, a faint shimmering beneath the debris. He knelt, heart racing as hope mingled with dread. Could this be hers as well? Suddenly, the sensation of being watched intensified. He lifted his eyes, and there, across the room, a shadow shifted. It unfurled, taking form, a small girl, a visage of despair. Martha. Jack's voice trembled as he reached out, desperation lacing his words. Find me, she whispered, just as the bracelet slipped from his fingers, falling into the darkness below. It was then that the realization struck him: the shadows were alive, and they were hungry. The locket clinked softly against the floor, and Jack knew he was out of time. The shadows surged, whispering their secrets, and Martha's image flickered like a dying light. What lay beyond this dark door? A curse, a truth, or perhaps a choice he was unprepared to make. Jack's breath caught as he felt the world shift around him, as if the house itself was recalibrating, bracing for his next move that he had to decide. But could he navigate the depth of these shadows alone? Before he could answer himself, a cold hand reached for him out of the darkness. Jack froze, heart hammering, as the cold hand brushed against his arm. It was bony, fragile, and sent electricity shooting down his spine. He jerked back, but there was no escaping the ice-cold grip that held him in place. It felt like he was being drawn into the shadows that wrapped around him like a vice. Martha. He breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. The darkness pulsed, as if it were alive and waiting. But instead of the sweet recognition he yearned for, it only tightened its hold. From the bleakness, the outlines of terrified eyes peeked out. His heart twisted at the sight. What had happened to her? The girl, once so vibrant in his memories, now looked like a hollow shell, tangled in fear. "Why won't you help me?" Martha asked, the anguish in her voice sending shivers through him. "You have to find me. We can't be apart." "Where are you?" Jack cried desperately. "I can't just leave you." The weight of the shadows pressed against him like a squall. He could barely breathe. A steady rustling filled the air, whispering incoherent phrases that blended into a cacophony of anguish. Jack's mind raced, searching for the next clue, the next hint that could lead him deeper into the labyrinth of grief. Suddenly, the locket he had seen earlier began to pulse with a soft, ethereal glow. Jack's gaze snapped to it, an instinct tugging at him. Maybe it was the key. He lunged forward, but as he moved, the shadows in the room shifted and twisted, blocking him from reaching it. "No, I need it," he shouted, the rising panic igniting a fire within him. "Martha," he called again, his voice hoarse and filled with desperation. "I'm coming. Just hold on." He squared his shoulders, forcing his way through the tightening darkness. Each step felt like wading through thick mud. The shadows clawed at him, pulling him back, trying to sap his resolve. But he couldn't give in. Something deep inside insisted he move louder, bolder. The glowing locket called to him, beckoning him with an irresistible lure. As he reached down, a sudden rush of wind filled the room, and the air crackled with energy. The glowing pulsated with color. Jack snatched the locket just before the shadows grasped at it. Clutching the cool surface, he turned back and focused on the shimmering light that emanated from it, sweeping away the shadows that clung to his skin. "Please tell me what to do," he shouted. In that moment, a powerful vision exploded into his mind, fragments of memories, whispers of laughter, and the joyful presence of Martha in vibrant hues. But beyond that, he saw something darker, something buried beneath the surface. The vision unraveled, pulling him into its depths. A scene played out before him, one that revealed a dark secret about the house and its connection to Martha. A twisted tale of loss, love, and betrayal began to unfold in vivid flashes. Jack staggered, reeling with the weight of the revelation. It was as if the locket itself was imbuing him with Martha's lost memories. A sense of urgency dawned. He had to decode this mystery before it enveloped him completely. "Jack, you're running out of time." Martha's voice sliced through the haze of uncertainty. "You need to find the truth before it consumes us both." Determination surged in Jack's veins. He couldn't let fear dictate his actions any longer. Feeling newfound strength, he gripped the locket tight and shouted into the void, "I will free you, Martha. I promise." But just as the shadows began to recede, a deep rumble echoed through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the house. The atmosphere thickened again, laden with potently malevolent energy. The question loomed: would he uncover the truth before it was too late? Would the shadows finally reveal their secrets, or would they consume him first? Jack steeled himself, vision clear. He would face whatever came next, but at what cost? The shadows erupted around Jack, swirling in a chaotic dance, a storm of despair seemingly vying for his very soul. Heart racing, he clutched the locket, feeling its warmth pulse in time with his frantic heartbeat. Martha's voice echoed in his mind, urging him onward, but the power of the house pushed back, threatening to drown out any lingering hope. "Jack," her voice tremored compellingly through the tempest, "you must remember." Remember? He had to remember what? The room around him cracked, as if the very walls were protesting against the revelations about to unfold. He braced himself, knowing he had to face the memories that lay buried under layers of loss. With another deep breath, Jack focused on the light emanating from the locket. Within its glowing embrace, visions began to materialize. Memories, not just of Martha, but of another life, one filled with warmth and laughter. They unfurled slowly, like petals opening to the sun, pulling him back to moments of innocence before everything had shattered. He saw Martha running through sunlit fields, her laughter ringing like a melody. But that joy faded into shadows as the scene shifted. He could see a darker figure lurking at the edge of their happiness, a silhouette distorted, barely recognizable, yet hauntingly familiar. "Who are you?" Jack gasped, speaking to the figure in his vision. The shadows seemed to thicken, swirling around him as if the house itself was rebelling against this intrusion. With each breath, the air grew colder, and fear shot through him like icy daggers. He felt sweat trickle down his spine when the shadow stepped closer, revealing unsettling eyes that shone with malice. Suddenly, everything changed, and before Jack knew it, he stumbled backward, crashing against the prickly wooden floorboards. Pain shot through him, but was overshadowed by the piercing realization that struck like lightning in his chest. Where was Martha? He couldn't lose her again. Jack, you need to confront it. Confront the truth. She urged again, her voice ringing in his ears amidst the chaotic noise, louder than the relentless shadows. Taking a shaky breath, Jack pushed himself up, wiping sweat from his forehead and steeling his resolve. The locket pulsed with an intensity that felt like a heartbeat, guiding him toward what he feared most. He blinked through the darkness, fighting against every instinct that told him to run, but he advanced, determined to confront the hidden figure that had been plaguing his memories. The air crackled with energy, causing every hair on his body to stand on end. Show yourself, he yelled, his voice echoing as he stood his ground. A chilling laughter erupted from the depths of the shadows, and the figure stepped into the light, the face now clearer. Jack's stomach dropped in horror. This was no stranger, it was someone he once trusted. A tidal wave of betrayal washed over him. Did you really think you could save her? The figure sneered, the voice coated in venom. You've always been too late, Jack. Jack recoiled, his breath hitching in his throat. What have you done? The realization struck like a slap of truth he hadn't been prepared to face. I did what I had to do, the figure hissed. And you, my friend, are merely a pawn in a game far beyond your understanding. As Jack's mind raced, the shadows surged forward, enveloping him like a blackened tide. Panic seized him, and the weight of despair threatened to crush him whole. But amidst the terror, he realized he held the locket tightly, the source of power, his only true connection to Martha. Stop, he roared, feeling a flicker of courage ignite in his heart. I won't let you take her. He summoned everything within him, directing the glowing warmth of the locket towards the dark figure, determined to strip away the lies and uncover the truth that had remained hidden for too long. But just as the light surged, something shifted violently in the air. A scream reverberated through the walls, tearing into Jack's heart and shaking the ground beneath him. He squeezed his eyes shut, feeling the world tilt dangerously with the weight of revelation and pain. What price would he pay to save Martha? Would he finally break through the darkness, or would he be dragged down forever by the secrets entwined within the shadows? The echoing scream hung in the air, a reminder that the battle was far from over. The scream swallowed the room, reverberating through the hollow space like a death knell. Jack staggered, the shadows tightening their grip, pressing him backward, suffocating. He clutched the locket, desperate for its warmth to ground him. His heart drummed a frantic beat, drowning out the twisted laughter that filled the air. Let her go? He shouted, his voice fading beneath the din. The dark figure grinned, a ghastly smile that twisted deeper into Jack's confusion. What a noble act, it taunted, each word dripping with disdain. But do you have any idea what you're up against? Jack's mind raced. He thought of Martha, her spirit flickering like a candle in a storm. He couldn't lose her. He wouldn't. Ripping his gaze from the figure, he concentrated on the locket's glow. It pulsed with a rhythm that felt alive. I will save her, he insisted, steeling himself against the whirlwind of despair. With a surge of determination, he thrust the locket forward. Light erupted, slicing through the shadows like a blade. The darkness recoiled, but not without a shriek of anger that reverberated through the air. The figure's sneer faltered for a moment. You think that trinket holds the power to save her? You know nothing, Jack. Jack's heart pounded violently as he pushed harder, amplifying the light. Memories streamed around him, moments with Martha that warmed him like the sun. Laughter, her smile, her warmth. He channeled every emotion, every desire to bring her back into this battle of wills. Bursting free from the engulfing shadows, the light pierced the figure, forcing it back. Jack felt a surge of energy, a fierce wave building within him, fueled by love and desperation. Enough, he roared, channeling every shred of his will. The brightness exploded, engulfing the room, scattering the shadows like petals blown by a strong wind. As the light expanded, he saw the figure's face reflecting shock, then fear. "No, you'll regret this, Jack," it screamed, losing its footing in the blinding brilliance. And then it happened. The locket flared, and with it came a rush of reality. The walls around him trembled, shimmering like a mirage. Jack stumbled, caught off guard as the environment morphed, revealing fragments of the past, memories twisting and reforming, overlaid with an eerie brightness. The ghostly figure clawed at the air desperately, trying to maintain its dark hold. "Martha!" Jack shouted, feeling an overwhelming pull to the light. He extended his hand, reaching out, desperate. Threads of golden light reached back, beckoning him. Suddenly, he heard her voice, soft, yet fierce. "Jack, don't let go. Find me." The world around him exploded into a riot of colors, swirling past him in blurs of emotion and memories. The laughter turned to ecstatic joy, only to shift ominously into whispers of dread. He felt the ground beneath him tremble, crackling with energy. Shadows loomed at the edges, threatening to drag him down into despair's embrace again. "Don't give in, Jack," Martha urged, her voice breaking through the cacophony. He squeezed his eyes shut, fighting against the tide pulling at him. The locket buzzed with life, urging him to keep going, to reach further into the light. "Stay with me," he cried, his heart breaking, the weight of loss threatening to crush him as desperately he groped for her fading presence. "Jack," the voice cried again, stronger yet fading. "Trust your heart." With one final surge of power, Jack drove forward, the light from the locket exploding outward, intertwining with the echoes of hope. And then, silence. The oppressive weight of the shadows lifted, replaced by an ethereal calm. Jack opened his eyes, breathless, the remnants of darkness drifting away like smoke. But in that moment of hope, there was a pang of dread. Though the shadows retreated, Jack felt a ripping sensation, a new truth waiting to unveil itself. Something that felt dangerously close yet profoundly unsettling. "Jack," a low voice floated through the lingering silence, just beneath the surface. "You didn't think you could escape that easily, did you?" His heart plummeted, dread flooding through him once again. What revelation lay waiting in the depths of this house? Would he discover the answers he sought, or would he uncover nightmares far worse than he had ever imagined? Jack's heart sank into a pit of confusion as the weight of those words curled around him like smoke. The ghosts of the past were not done with him yet. He steadied himself. Martha needed him. He could not falter now. Drawing strength from the locket's remaining glow, he turned slowly, scanning the edges of the room for anything that might reveal the next step forward. "Show yourself," Jack called, voice steady despite the trembling in his chest. The whisper of shadows slithered around him, harsh and cold, but he moved forward, determined to face whatever horror lay ahead. The air stilled, heavy and thick, as he reached for the space where the shadows thickened. He could almost make out a figure, a silhouette, cloaked in shifting darkness and despair. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, desperation spilling over. The figure laughed, a haunting sound echoing through the hall and sending chills gliding down his spine. "You think mere love can break this bond?" It taunted with a voice he recognized, yet only through echoes of pain. "Is that you?" Jack's breath quickened, heart racing. It felt like a weight pressing down, dragging him toward a suffocating conclusion. Martha was always meant to suffer, the figure hissed, eyes glinting like knives. "You're too late, Jack." So blind, so naive. Each word cut, carving new paths of anguish in his heart. "No," Jack shouted back, fueled by a wave of fierce resolve. "She deserves peace." Those words drew the figure closer, but the shadows warped and pulsed like they were alive, determined to protect their secrets. "I won't let her suffer anymore." With a fierce cry, he surged forward, thrusting the locket onward, channeling all his anguish into its warmth. "Martha, I'm coming for you." The light from within the locket flared, pushing against the dark and challenging the figure. "Show me the truth." For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Then with a furious rush, the darkness began to peel back, revealing memories long hidden. Jack stumbled, falling into a scene, a flash of laughter and light. The sunny fields where Martha played as a child. "Follow me." Her voice ringed, crystal clear. "You have to see it all." He ran alongside her, the warmth of the sun enveloping them both, momentarily chasing away the cold shadows that had haunted him. But then the light flickered, and the scene shifted again. Harsh winds howled as emotions twisted and turned into a horrific reality. Jack gasped as he watched the betrayal unfold. He saw Martha's once bright eyes dimming under a darkness he could now name. The shadow of betrayal loomed, the figure he had thought he could save becoming something monstrous. Then, with agonizing clarity, he finally understood the figure looming over Martha was someone he had trusted deeply in life, his own brother. A swirling, cavernous pit opened beneath him as realization struck. "What did you do?" Jack screamed, feeling sick. "You condemned her." The figure, once a loved one, now warped into a grotesque embodiment of darkness and despair. "The price of freedom is higher than you can imagine," it hissed, manic in its rage. Jack braced himself. "I can't leave you. I will find a way to save Martha." He felt the locket pulsing, sinking with his heartbeat, urging him to push harder against the tide. He summoned every ounce of love and hope he had left. "Remember," Martha's voice took precedence over the chaos. "It's not just about me. It's about breaking the cycle." And then Jack saw it, a fragile thread woven from light that connected the past to the present, the joy that existed before shadows claimed the lives of those they tormented. All he needed was to follow it, to confront the light buried beneath the shadows. "Stop!" Jack roared, pushing forward with renewed strength. "You will not take her from me." He lunged straight for the figure cloaked in darkness, not to attack, but to embrace the truth that lay at their core. As he reached out, the locket exploded with dazzling radiance, growing beyond anything he could imagine. The light washed over him and poured into the figure. The shadows twisted violently, shrieking in protest. The truth unveiled the tapestry of greed and betrayal. It pulled apart the fabric of despair, exposing the vulnerable heart of their shared anguish. Jack felt the illusion of chains even now slipping, revealing Martha's soft features amidst the chaotic shadows. She stepped forward, reaching for him. "Jack, together, we can transcend this darkness." With one final push, they locked hands, channeling an unyielding bond. The light surged forth as they lifted it high, illuminating the room in a burst of cleansing warmth. The shadows screamed, dissolving around them, and the malevolent figure writhed, unable to hold on against the tidal wave of light washing through. The world shifted until finally there was silence. The house hum quietly settled into an embrace, suffused with a reassuring light, untouched by darkness. Jack felt a warmth encircle them, a blanket woven from friendship, love, and resilience. "Martha," he whispered, stepping into her glow. She was no longer a specter of grief, but a spirit intertwined with hope. The pain of the past floated away like dust settling in sunlight. "Thank you, Jack," she smiled, tears pooled in her kind eyes. "Now we can be free." Together they walked forward, hand in hand, embracing the promise of a new dawn as the shadows faded into memory. "Goodbye," Jack whispered to the haunted house, a deep satisfaction settling in his chest. He knew he would carry their love forward, never letting light fade. And in that moment, he realized he could finally breathe. True endings came when light outshone the dark, every secret unearthed until none remained. Now it was time to live again. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support for your favorite channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your participation makes all the difference.